Hey everybody, Max here, and this is episode 3 of Versus the Backlog. We are back with more Final Fantasy today, and we're doing the sequel to Final Fantasy 13. And what would be the sequel to 13? 14, right? No, that's the MMO that no one shuts up about. 13-2, that's the game we're playing. That's the sequel, because that's how sequels work. Sorry, I do appreciate the anthology series that is Final Fantasy. I just always thought that was a really funny way to do your sequels. Yeah, so we're just gonna hop right into it. I recorded this after editing the main video. I needed an intro. Once again, most of the people who watch this video aren't going to be subscribed, so don't forget to subscribe. It helps me out immensely. Thank you. Here. So Final Fantasy 13-2 is shockingly good. I say this because I guess from the quality of 13 and the frustrations I had, I expected 13-2 to kind of be just as difficult and maybe just as complex and unfocused story-wise as 13 was originally. But those complaints have kind of been addressed. There's a lot I liked about the game. There's some things I didn't like. But overall, I had a way more enjoyable experience in this game than I did with 13. Gameplay is going to be the first thing I want to talk about. I think last time it was one of the last things I talked about, but it's just because there's so many noticeable tweaks and changes to how the game overall works that it's just not a huge change from how 13 operated, but it's enough to kind of just warrant a quick little section. The first thing you'll notice is that there's a normal and easy mode, and easy mode's great for me because I like to kind of enjoy games in a more casual way, and it doesn't make it like super brain dead easy. It just makes it a more enjoyable experience by kind of just making enemies have a little bit less health and their attacks don't hurt as much. But at the same time, it still makes bosses a good challenge, and you still have to kind of think and strategize with the paradigm system. I played on the Xbox Series X, and it gives it an FPS boost, and it's very noticeable. It's very smooth. There was a couple of frame rate drops, and when I say couple, I mean I really only had 2 instances where it really dropped hard, and it was just like I don't really understand where that came from, but it only happened a couple times. But that is something to warn you about if you're going to play the game on a Series X. Another thing you'll notice as you're seeing in the gameplay is you actually don't play as Lightning in the game, even though she's on the cover of the game, and that is because you play as Sarah and Noel, 2 characters. Sarah from Final Fantasy 13, who is the person you ultimately save at the end of 13. The second and supporting protagonist, Noel, he is a brand new character in this franchise, and he actually has a pretty interesting story too. The paradigm system has been greatly improved. It's just kind of easier to organize and comprehend. You only have Noel and Sarah to really worry about because the other party member is a random monster that you can get from battles. So every time you defeat a monster, there's a chance they'll drop a little crystal, and that crystal will have that monster in it. So it's more of the side of Persona 3, where there'd be a little card shuffle at the end of battles, and it would reveal a monster that you could pick. Eidolon summons are gone in this game because now that you have a little army or monster bend, you don't need a big old monster guy to help you, or a god. You don't need a god to help you. Nuh-uh. No more god for you. But that's fine because the Feral Link, I think, is way better. So when you do enough damage or good coordination with the paradigm system, the Feral Link will go up, and each monster has a special attack that has a quick time event tied to it, and you just kind of sync it up. There's a big robot that will shoot a cannon, or a small little robot that will do a giant thunderstorm. It's all just really different stuff that you can do with these monsters, and they just have a wide range of versatility. Another thing that I really liked, though, was the cinematic actions. So during final parts of boss fights, you would have quick time events where you'd have to hit like a face button like X or B or A or even down on the left controller stick, and it just made it a lot more epic. And if you nail these prompts, these button prompts that come on screen well enough, you do get an item, so you get rewarded for participating in these little cutscenes well, and I really liked that little touch. They also add a little dialogue system where it's kind of bare bones. You just get to kind of pick like different things that Sarah or Noel can say in cutscenes, and sometimes it's just that. You just say a different thing. It just gives you an option. Another time, it kind of plays into the gameplay. Like there is a boss where you need to kind of say the right thing in order for it to go away for good. But other than that, it's not really utilized as well as it could be. Another great mechanic that I like is the Moogle. So the Moogle, whose name is Mog, you get him at the beginning of the game. Lightning sends him back with Noel in time, and something in a story event I'll get to in a second here. The Moogle can find invisible chests throughout the environment. Essentially, there'll be little item chests that you can't interact with unless they're revealed, and hitting a button on the controller will signal the Moogle to do a little spell, and it will reveal that chest. But also, you unlock a way to get to chests that you normally can't reach. You'll see chests really far away on cliffs that have no way of physically getting to them, and you can throw the Moogle to grab the chest for you. And I really like the mechanic, and I think it also adds a layer of convenience for when you realize you maybe walked past a chest that you could have gotten to. But you can throw the Moogle over there and get it for you instead of having to trek back to it. So some great quality of life changes overall in the gameplay.
I know my sister is alive out there. I'm sorry I doubted you. Of all people, I should know how bad it can make you feel when no one believes what you say.
So you start as Lightning in the tutorial. She's fighting a man named Caius, and he's got this black armor, wicked long purple hair, and this freaky sword with an eye on it. If you've played Soul Calibur, it kind of looks like Nightmare's sword. Have you ever played those games? During this fight, Noel falls out of the sky. Lightning saves him. She knows who he is. She summons the Moogle, gives it to him. The Moogle can turn into a weapon. It's all very strange, and you will be thinking this whole time, hey, did I miss something? No, you didn't miss anything. This is how the game starts, and it's not at all how Final Fantasy XIII ended, and that's the catch. That's the catch of the game. That's how it makes you feel. Then it puts you in the boots of Sarah from Final Fantasy XIII, the girl that everyone works so hard to save. She is like, I remember a time. Well, hold on. That's not. Lightning's supposed to be with us. She didn't. Where is she? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Lightning is dead. Everyone looks at her like she's got 3 heads, like she's crazy. And that, from a player standpoint, is a great thing to kind of experience because you feel the same way as Sarah. Lightning didn't die at Final Fantasy. What are you talking about? I played the ending of Final Fantasy XIII. I know how that game ended. And then they make a cutscene, like a new cutscene at one point that like alters the ending of Final Fantasy XIII, and like even like that really high definition, high quality graphical cutscene, like they show it to you in this flashback, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Long story short, monsters then attack the village from a different world, and Noel saves Sarah. He gives her the Moogle that turns into a weapon so she has something to use in combat. And then he reveals that not only is he from 700 years in the future, but he reveals this huge thing called a time gate. And that's the next hook. You are time traveling to save Lightning. You're saving your sister by jumping forward in time and jumping backward occasionally. You have a series of smaller dungeons between timelines that need to be solved by jumping into another dungeon. So a good example is At one point, you meet Snow in a jungle dungeon, and he cannot figure out why this giant monster keeps forming. Eventually, you jump through a new time gate, and you defeat a dragon in a different timeline, and this dragon happens to have been eating those monsters that are appearing in the jungle timeline, and it turns out he's not actually eating them. It's like the dragon is like a void to another world. It was very weird explanation, and they explain it as it's a paradox. The dragon shouldn't be there, therefore you have to defeat it. And you kind of just go around solving paradoxes so you can recover these things called artifacts, which allow you to progress the story by opening these more crucial time gates. All right, you remember Hope? Yeah, Hope's back. Hope is way more important in Final Fantasy XIII-2 than the first game, where he was just kind of moping around because his mom died, which is a reasonable thing to mope around about. But he understands time travel in this game too, and he is just going to help Sarah and Noel the whole time, and yeah, that's it. That's pretty much all he does, is just help you out. He doesn't really do anything past that. He can make you like a special little weapon if you can get him like a really rare item. I didn't do that because didn't feel like it was worth my time. And then eventually you run into Caius for the first time, the man that Lightning was fighting in the tutorial sequence. Caius is a very complex character. He is a watcher of time. He's got the heart of an old god in his chest. He essentially is protecting this girl named Yule. And it's revealed that Noel has a connection with Yule and Caius. Caius being his mentor, Yule being kind of like a sibling to Noel, somebody he cares about deeply. But Yule is a girl, and she's called a seer. And she can see into the future, but every time she sees into the future, a part of her life deteriorates, so she only ever can live up to the age of 15 from how Noel explains it, because at that point her last and final vision will be so great on her that it just kills her. And then at one point it reveals that Sarah, our main character of the game, is also a seer. She has a vision of the future of Lightning, and this story is very, very fun, except for one thing. They love to just explain things to you like you're an idiot.
On the outside, wherever they are, they're trying to use the network in an attempt to override the system somehow.
So basically, some bad guy snuck in and took over the tower? Well, there's an easy solution for that. You just need to find him and solve this whole problem. Case closed.
The security system's been hacked too, so the security bots are just pieces of metal. And I don't think the person behind this is actually physically here. It seems like the culprit isn't even in this time at all. They're accessing the system from somewhere in the future.
Lucky for us, we have the means to get there. Let's give them a piece of our minds. Come on.
I swear, every time something's going on in this game, instead of like showing it to you through maybe level design or, more artistically, the characters stand around for like a few minutes just talking about it. It's like, yeah, I get it. Oh my god, it's an evil thing. An evil guy's doing an evil thing. And that was my main problem with this game. Was just how they kind of at some points in the story just there's like they're too stupid to get this. No, I'm not stupid. I can follow the story. It's pretty comprehensive. 13 was kind of all over the place. This one's more straightforward. But they love to shove information right in your face. They love telling instead of showing. And that is just it's not great when you want to have a really good story like this one. This one is just so intriguing. I am going to spoil the final part of the game here, just because it needs to be talked about. So, just spoilers. If you plan to play Final Fantasy XIII-2, just be aware I'm going to spoil the end of the game. So, at the end of the game, when you finally clash with Caius for the final time, it's revealed that Caius is doing all this terrible stuff of distorting timelines, and Lightning disappeared because at the end of 13, a goddess of time named Etro had pulled Lightning into Valhalla because of Caius because Caius was tired of seeing Yule die and did not like the whole the Seeress dies type thing, and Noel's refusal to kind of take over Caius's job, or Caius's role, which is what Noel was supposed to do, kind of led into all these complicated events that altered the timeline. As they kept saying a lot in the game, to change the future is to change the past, and that's what happened. The future changed in Final Fantasy XIII, where everyone was supposed to just turn to crystal. Instead, they were saved. This changed parts of the game, and therefore, all the stuff that we saw at the end of 13 changed. I know this sounds very complex, and it's because it is. But essentially, let me just boil it down real quick. Caius turned evil because he didn't want to see this little girl that he cared for all his life die. And therefore, he is trying to kill the goddess of time, and Lightning is there to defend the goddess of time. So they defeat Caius, and then Caius turns into 3 fucking dragons, man. You destroy those 3 dragons, and yeah, everything's great again. It seems. Lightning's still not back. That's weird. Oh, Sarah died. Oh my god, Sarah died. Sarah's dead. What? To be continued? What? Oh, there's DLC. Alright, so if you play the DLC with Lightning in it, you actually get it's like $2, and you get a pretty fun little roguelike DLC where Lightning has to battle Caius in this endless time loop. And this is how the DLC works. To get the real ending of the game, you have to buy this DLC. I know, a little scummy, but it's also super cheap. At this point, who cares? The game's been out for over 10 years. So, Lightning starts at level 1, Caius kicks your butt. You get to level 2, Caius still probably kicks your butt. Around maybe level 4 or 5, you'll beat Caius for the first time. And every time you lose or win against Caius, you get experience and you level Lightning up. You can get all the way to level 10. But the whole goal is to beat Caius pretty fast. So at around level 8, I beat him pretty quickly, and you want to get a 5-star rating on the fight, because it will, instead of sending you back to the prepare for battle menu that pops up every time you do this DLC, Caius goes and turns into Chaos Bahamut, which was the first phase of the final boss fight in the base storyline. You defeat this Bahamut, and you get the true ending. Unfortunately, even with all that hard work, Sarah is still dead, and you will never release Sarah back into the real world. And even when Lightning makes that demand, she learns the hard truth, which is Sarah always knew she was going to die. Lightning can't change that. No matter how many times she fights Caius, she'll never be able to save Sarah. Sarah's death is necessary. After Sarah's spirit disappears, Lightning finds herself in the Temple of Etro and sits upon the throne, and in turn goes into crystal stasis, believing that she will awaken one day, but she is now going to just sit there and keep Cocoon from falling.
Now I sleep, my dreams everlasting. It is here that I await the end of eternity. And the day I awaken once again.
Okay, so overall rating of Final Fantasy XIII-2, I'm going to give it my first ever 8.5 out of 10. I usually don't do decimal scores just because I think it makes everything really, all my scores really jumbled and stuff, but I really don't think it's a 9. I think a 9 is a very, very, very high score to give a game, and rarely a lot of games I would give a 9, but this teeters on a 9. I could give it a 9, but it's not quite there. This is now the highest rated game on my channel, which is going to probably make a lot of people pissed off. But hey, it's a good game. It's a pretty underrated game. I really liked it, and I liked all its concepts. I loved how creative it was. I loved how it improved upon its predecessor. So thank you for watching. I am so appreciative if you watch, a minute, 10 seconds. I don't know if you stick around for the whole thing. Thank you. It helps me. I love when people interact with my videos. I decided to put a lot of my video projects aside. Like, I know I was going to do a reveal on Tales of Kinzara Zao. I don't know if I'm going to do that now, just because I've just had a lot going on. I want to review that game, but I decided to do a Final Fantasy 13 video because my previous video was starting to pick up more traction. So I assume that a lot of people probably watching my channel are probably coming from that video or from my Dragon's Dogma 2 review. So I decided to make this video and play through 13-2. I will review Lightning Returns. I have a copy, and we will conclude this Final Fantasy 13 trilogy. That will happen. I don't know when it will happen. I'm not going to make any more promises on what types of videos I want to release, because I never ended up making a lot of stuff that I said I was going to do. And it's just because, content relevancy changes all the time, so I have no idea what I'm going to do. I just know that people like Final Fantasy, and it seems that this series of me covering 13 was getting a lot more traction again. So I will finish the 13 trilogy, and then we will see what happens next. Please subscribe if you like what you see, because I'm going to be uploading a lot more content. Hopefully, I want to kind of make this more of my main thing, but I do have a job, so I gotta also focus on that in life. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.